Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be testing out the very new Dior Diorskin Forever Undercover 24-Hour Foundation. I am a big fan of Dior foundations. I have the Forever and I also have Star, which is one of my all-time favorite foundations. This is the newest addition to the range and it is supposed to be 24-hour wear, full coverage. It's supposed to be touch proof, kiss proof, life proof. So they say on their website it has no SPF. It comes in 24 shades. However, in the UK, we can only currently get this on Selfridges. They seem to have a head start on a lot of products these days. And we currently only have 15 shades and they are missing all of the deeper shades. So I really hope that those are like coming and there is some kind of explanation as to what is going on there, because I hope they don't just think that everyone in the UK is like my skin tone or lighter, because that ain't true. So it's supposed to give you that very full coverage, very matte, very flawless, very perfected base, but without that heavy look and feel. So it's supposed to look like skin, it's supposed to feel very lightweight, and you get an extra 10 mils. There is 40 mils in here for the same price as my other Dior foundations. So that is a win. I guess some of the place where they have saved the cost is the packaging, because this is plastic versus the glass bottles that they usually go for. This is a plastic like tube. So I guess maybe that's how they saved some of the cost there, which I am all for. I have mine in the shade 21, which is linen. I am currently an NC 25 to 30. The Star I usually use 31, which is slightly too dark for me in my winter shade. So I went for 21. Like I said, I'm an NC 25 to 30. In NARS, I'm like Punjab. And in L'Oreal I am a W4, so I hope that helps you with your shade. And without further ado, let's put it on my face. So as I always do when I'm doing a foundation review, I have primed my skin with the Stila One Step Correct, because it is just your standard primer. It's not going to illuminate or mattify the foundation, it's just giving me something for the foundation to go on top of. So here is the packaging. As I said, it's a little bit different from like your normal Dior. I kind of like it because it's like a squeezy tube. It's got a twist off cap and then this nozzle, which I am a fan of because it really gives you that controllability with how much you're using. So if you want to use less, if you are traveling, it's not gonna break. It's really nice and compact, so I quite like it, but it is not as luxurious as like the glass bottles. So I've no idea, I've never used this before, I've no idea how much I'm gonna need, so I'm just gonna pump out, squeeze out what would be like your average pump from most foundations. You can see it is moving on there. It's, given that it's supposed to be so full coverage, it is quite liquidy, which I guess goes along with the claim that it should be lightweight. So as always, I'm going to do this half of my face with my beauty blender and the other half of my brush to see which I like best. So let's get going. That is all gone to do this half of my face with the beauty sponge, and it's definitely going to need some building up for it to be full coverage. It did say on the website that they recommend using fingers or a brush, so I'm assuming you're going to get a lot more coverage with a brush. It has a pretty strong scent like most Dior and most sort of high-end foundations. It's nice, it's just a perfume smell, but obviously if perfume is not for you, then this is not for you. It is very matte, which they obviously said it would be. I'm really happy with the shade. It's really close to my skin tone, more like my neck. My body is more tanned, but it's winter and I'm hardly showing my body these days. Yeah, it's not as much coverage as I thought it was going to be, but that's obviously because I used the sponge. However, I still thought it was going to be really full coverage. I'm going to go in with the same amount now, but using my Sigma F80 Kabuki brush. Okay, so they weren't lying. Brush, definitely the way to go to get your coverage. Like the difference That is a massive difference. I know a lot of foundations, you know, you get more coverage if you use a brush because the sponge soaks everything up. But this, the difference is mega. Like, that has doubled the coverage. So definitely one to use with a brush to avoid wasting product. That is crazy. That is like 2 different foundations. So with the brush, it was like boom coverage. I still wouldn't say this was like mega full coverage. When we go close up, I'll show you, but you can still see beauty marks, and you can still see some of my redness on my skin showing through from what I would consider, you know, a decent amount of product. But this side looks twice as much coverage to this side with the brush with the exact same amount of product. It went on really quickly and it feels so soft and smooth. It feels lovely on the skin and does genuinely feel really, really lightweight, which is nice. I'm gonna go in with a bit more on the sponge side just to even myself up and see how it builds. Okay, so it's building really nicely. It's not having any issues building up. So if you do really prefer the sponge and you don't mind using more product for the same result, then you can build it up to get your full coverage. I'd say that was getting there now. I'd still say that was like a medium to full on this side. I still wouldn't say it was like crazy full coverage, which I'm quite surprised, because they were saying it was like double the pigments of the Forever, which is still pretty full coverage. Okay, so let's have a little zoomy zoom to show you how my skin is looking. I think it does look really healthy. And now, although there is quite a lot of foundation on there and I've built the coverage up quite a lot, it still does really look like skin and look quite healthy. However, you can still see beauty marks, so it's really not as like mega full coverage as I was expecting from like the description. I'd still say it's like medium buildable to full-ish. It's sunk into my smile lines and also onto the lines in my forehead, which I'm not a fan of, and I do feel like it exaggerates lines when foundations do that, you know, to quite the degree that this one has. I had to use quite a lot of the product to get here. It went on really, really nicely with a brush, which I'm not usually a fan of with foundations, but I would definitely recommend a brush for this one, because like I said, you literally got double the coverage and there was no issues with brush strokes, and it felt really smooth and really nice going on. Kind of on the fence right now. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup and then I will come back and see how I get on. Okay, so we are back. Now, first things first, I want to take a quick flash photo to see if there is any white cast flashback or anything. So there does not seem to be any white cast at all, which is amazing, and I guess you would expect because this has no SPF in it, and the other Dior foundations that I have both have SPF in it, and I've never really had an issue with white cast with them either, so obviously Dior have that down. It actually looks gorgeous in those photos. I think it photographs very, very well. I think it looks really beautiful in my monitor that I can see, and I also think it looks really, really nice looking from here into this mirror, which I didn't expect, because close up it's just okay, but yeah, I'm kind of thinking now from looking in the mirror from just like, you know, a few centimeters away, it does, for the amount of coverage, it does do what they say. It does look very natural, very skin-like, and it does feel really lightweight. It really does feel very comfortable. I will say that as I was putting my makeup on, I obviously touched my nose and it literally came right off. And it does say, when I was looking at this online, it does say that it doesn't set immediately and can be moved around. So I guess that's what it is. And with this foundation, obviously what you need to do is, you know, do your makeup, do your foundation, finish your makeup, and do not touch it for, I guess, half an hour. We'll see how long. I'll have a little play around with it today. So I guess it's not the most practical, in that sense, especially not for me because I'm a mum, and so literally 3 seconds after I put this on, I will have baby's hands all up in my face. So that's probably a little tricky of a thing for mums and for people who are, you know, doing their makeup and then running out the door and may touch their face or anything like that, that it may move. It's definitely soaked into my lines on my head and my smile lines. Most foundations soak into my smile lines, not all foundations soak into my forehead fine lines, which this one definitely has done, like, pretty badly. So yeah. But I will say the rest of my face, other than where I have those lines, the texture is really smoothed and reduced. Like, I definitely look less textured than I normally do. I love this shade. Definitely, if you're between NC 25, NC 30, definitely a really good shade. Just excuse the mascara that is all up in my eyes. We'll deal with that in a minute, don't panic. I did have to use quite a bit of product, but given that they've given us an extra 10 mils, I'm not really mad at that. Yeah, I'm really liking the finish. It is matte, but it isn't crazy dead, like flat matte, if you get what I'm saying. So at this stage, that's about all I have to report. I usually like to go about my day and just check in the mirror every now and then, ask my husband when he gets home, what do you think, all that kind of stuff, and we will draw some conclusions shortly. So the time in London town is currently coming up to 11:30. I would definitely be giving this a bare minimum of 8 to 9 hours. As it says, it's 24 hours. I expect to come back in 8 or 9 hours and look exactly the same as this. So we will see. I will see you in a bit. Hi guys, we are back and the time has just gone 8 o'clock. I have to say, this is a winner for me. So it is definitely one of those foundations that, like, you know, it looks really good when you put it on, but give it an hour or two and it looks even better. This reminds me a little bit of the Fenty foundation with maybe a bit more coverage and probably a bit of a better wear time as well. I really love that Fenty foundation. Feel like I might prefer the finish of this one. It is really natural. It does look like skin despite having a really good level of coverage. It wasn't as full coverage as I was expecting it to be. I really thought it was going to be like a complete mask with a really small amount, which it really wasn't. It was much more like a buildable with a decent amount. It legitimately has felt like nothing on my skin all day. I can barely feel it on my skin at all. The slight issue that I have with it sinking into lines, that hasn't got any worse as the day's gone on. I took some photos today, some selfies that I put on Instagram, and it photographs beautifully. Like, literally my skin looked like butter. I still feel like, although it's really matte, my skin looks really like alive and like luminous and just really youthful. I do find it smoothing, even though I only use my Stila primer. I didn't use my Fenty primer, which I love for like smoothing and kind of getting rid of texture. So I feel like with a better primer, this will look even more beautiful on the skin. Nothing crazy happened with the color. As you can see, it hasn't oxidized, it hasn't got darker or anything crazy. And also I did test that slight issue that I had where I scratched my nose just after I had put it on and it moved. I gave it a little test and I properly scratched my face and nothing happened. So that was after I'd had it on and finished my makeup, maybe half an hour it had dried down. So that just goes to show that obviously that is true what they say, that it does take a little bit of time to set before it was like on. I've also been playing with my kids, running around. I've had several meals and nothing has moved. There's no smudging, there's no nothing, and it legitimately feel like it looks exactly as it did. What are we now? Nearly 9 hours ago. So that is amazing. Let's just quickly zoom in and see what I'm talking about. Look at the evidence. So yeah, I mean, even like on my nose and on my chin, which is where my makeup usually disappears from around this like wear time, there's really nothing there to speak of. Maybe I'm starting to look a little bit shiny just here, either side of my nose, but really not much at all to talk about. Forehead is like pretty much immaculate. Blush, bronzer, highlighter, everything is all still on, which is a really good sign. Yeah, there's very little fading at all, and literally that is about it. Is that over the 9-hour mark, we are like maybe just starting to see some slight fading, but no disappearance, no patchiness, nothing funky, nothing weird. Yeah, this is a real winner for me. I think it's a great colour match. It always massively helps. I think it's a really nice, natural finish with a really good level of coverage, and I really like the fact that you get 40 mils, because that seems like actually a really good price point for Dior foundation in that case. There is a lot going for this foundation. It is definitely one that I'm gonna try out a bit more before it gets like holy grail status, but I feel like it could get there. Quite possibly it could get there. So that is everything I have to tell you about this foundation. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe before you go, as I would love to see you again. Take care for now. Bye 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 bye.